We runners tend to geek out on how many seconds the latest super shoes will shave off our times, what's the optimal training program, and what the best intensity to train on is, and a lot of other things that for sure make a difference if you want to run faster. But none of that matters at all if you don't have the thing that I will talk about in this video that is way less talked about and way less focused on to improve, and that is motivation. In this video I will talk about why it's so important and give you 10 practical tips that you can start doing today that actually will make you more motivated. When I was in physiotherapy school, I had this realization. When I started studying to become a physiotherapist, I had this way of thinking that the most important thing for me to become a good physio is to know all the evidence of what's the best treatments and exercises for different injury problems. But when I did one of my first practical placements, I quickly became aware of that many of the patients I was working with did not do the prescribed exercises that I gave them. And from that moment I realized that it doesn't matter if I know exactly what a person should do to help themselves if they're not motivated to put in the work. So although I still think it's important to know the latest evidence of what to do, from this point I, both as a physio and running coach, are very clear on what my main job is and what is the most important thing for me to be good at. And it is actually helping people to become more motivated. And it's so cool how you can actually work on this to make a huge difference. Because as a runner, it doesn't matter if you have the world's fastest shoe and the most optimal training program, if you don't have the motivation to go out and put in the work day after day in your training. And also, if you're running a race, there's a huge difference if you're highly motivated to push yourself to the absolute limit and if you're not. How motivated you are will make a bigger difference for sure in your end time than any super shoes could. Because of this, I truly believe that in many races, I think the one who wins isn't always the fittest. It can often be the one who actually wants it the most. One of the first things I learned when I started studying the psychology around motivation is a trick that I still use today, both for my internal dialogue and with people I work with, and this focusing on the delayed gratification. The reason why we often skip doing things that we know are good for us is because in the short term they may be boring or even painful if we're talking about a tough running workout. But if you can exercise the thinking pattern of not focusing on the direct outcome, that you will be bored or have pain, rather look a bit further ahead into the future and it will make a huge difference. Focus on the feeling you will have in just an hour's time after you're done with the training, when you're standing in the shower and you're high on the endorphins and proud of the work that you put into the training. Or you can think even further ahead, thinking of where you will be in a year's time from now if you start skipping all of those workouts compared to if you start doing all of the workouts. And just that thought of the huge difference of where you can end up if you put in the work today and continue doing it in a longer perspective can work as a great motivator. The most effective motivation hack that I have found is to just start. Let me explain. The reason why we procrastinate things is often that we see this whole thing that we're supposed to do and it feels like this massive mountain to climb. For example, if it is a long run you should go out on, the thought of that whole run can feel a bit daunting. So what I try to do, if it's either a run or a work task that I have trouble getting done, I just focus on the starting part. Because just putting on your shoes and getting out the door doesn't feel that hard. And if that is all you focus on, as soon as you find yourself out there, you can just as well start to run. And just like that, you have done the hardest part. Because in everything I do, whether it's training or working on different projects like these videos for example, I find as long as I get myself to start, the rest goes sort of by itself. There are a few stronger sources of motivation than going out running with other people. First of all, if you set a time and a date with a friend, you will have someone keeping you accountable to actually showing up. And it is also, of course, really fun running with others, talking on slow runs. And on harder runs, it can be such a huge source of motivation to push yourself when you have other people running alongside you. Moving together in a synchronized manner can also be a great way to bond with others. One really interesting study showed that small children were more likely to help strangers after they had bounced in sync with that person. So moving together in a synchronized manner, I think is something that is really deeply rooted into our DNA as human beings. It's so easy getting stuck into your routines, running on the exact same routes on all of your runs. Mixing it up and exploring and finding new places to run can make running feel like less of a chore and more like an adventure. For example, this exact spot right here, I've never ran here before, although it's really close to where I live. I have talked a lot about this on my channel before, and it is because I'm a huge believer in it and have seen what incredible difference it can make on people's motivation and also on my own. So many times I have felt unmotivated for training, but as soon as I take the time to sit down and find a goal that motivates and triggers me, something that I really want to achieve, and then write that goal down on a piece of paper, my motivation is so much higher and I feel better in all of my runs because I have a clear purpose of being out here. If you have a clear goal like that, you can actively use it when you start to feel unmotivated, reminding yourself of how doing this workout in a good way will bring you one step closer to that goal of yours. There are so many different ways to run. Running can be so many different things, but still I see many people doing the same sort of running on all their runs. Maybe running on easy pace on a road and eventually getting bored by it and feeling unmotivated. And I would too. I really like to get a taste of all kinds of running to keep me motivated and get that variety. If you watch this channel, you have seen me do slow runs, fast runs, intervals, road running, trail running, orienteering and track running. So if you're starting to feel bored and unmotivated with your running training, maybe just try a different type of running. There's so much fun you can do with running. Listening to your favorite upbeat music can for sure help increase your motivation for running. But not only that, it can actually also make you run faster with less effort. A study has shown that while listening to fast-paced music, runners increase their pace and distance traveled without becoming more tired, which probably is because you sort of forget that painful part of running hard when you're listening to music. At least for me, it's easier to focus on the endorphins you get and all the positive aspects of running hard and pushing yourself when I listen to my favorite music. A great way to get psyched and motivated to go for a run is finding running content like videos, films and podcasts that inspire you. I had a phase where if I was going to do an all-out effort on a track, I always watched the movie about Steve Prefontaine the day before, and it motivated me so much to really give it my all. So if you haven't watched that film, it's a huge recommendation. But we live in a day and age where there is so much running content for free online. So in that way, finding stuff and people online that inspire and motivate you is easier than ever. One thing that can really kill motivation is friction, which is basically all those small things that make it harder for you to go for a run. For example, if you need to start looking around to find your running gear before going out on a run, that small friction can be the difference between you getting out the door and not. So do what you can to remove all of those small frictions that make it harder for you to do what you know you should do. For example, laying out all your running clothes and shoes the day before so you just can grab it and head out on an early morning run can make it so much easier to just get out there and get the job done. Having a clear training plan for what runs you're supposed to do on the different days can help you so much with your motivation to get out there. And if you don't want to write your plan yourself, there's plenty of good resources to find online. I have also started making training plans for my Patreon supporters. So if you want to check out those and also get access to a lot of other bonus content and things that hopefully can motivate you in your running, you can check out my Patreon page here. I hope you get to go out on a run today, train smart, have fun, and I'll see you in the next video.